domain to think, okay, I didn't realise I was actually that good at that, and I can do that. And so to give them the confidence that they can achieve things if that's relevant to them. And also I do believe that in terms of pain pathways and muscle memory, that by getting the body to do other types of movement, exercise, you are repatterning and the brain is getting positive feedback rather than negative feedback through pain. So I think it works on both levels. Yeah.
So it's not like you don't sort of actually explicitly say to the patient, we need to strengthen your XYZ. It's more, it would be helpful to do these XY exercises to, how do you explain it if you don't explain you're trying to strengthen something?
So I might say that actually we're going to start doing these exercises so that you can see what your body can do. And I might not go into much more detail than that. I might say those specific exercises because we know the evidence suggests that these are good for prevention of any future issues with your back. So we know that there are lots of preventative strengthening exercises, stretches and different things for that. So I'd say that we could use it either as a preventative or as a, for them to be able to get on board with why they're going to be doing something. But for me, it is more about getting them to actually be empowered and think, oh my goodness, actually the body I have got is better than I thought it was.
Yeah, so it's a more...
And reconnecting them to that, so that because I think there's quite a disconnect between somebody's mind and their body, and I don't know if that's because of the world we live in the Western world with social media and all the different distractions and the fact that we don't spend much time in silence, but I do feel that disconnect plays itself out in mechanical dysfunctions that we see in the clinics.
Just explain that again.
So I think that the disconnect between our bodies and minds, and but even that language of disconnect, it's saying, body, mind, spirit, and seeing them as three things. Yeah. We're not seeing ourselves as one person, and I think part of exercise, talking, hands-on, all of that is all about trying to bring it all back together and recognising we are just dealing with one person.
No, I understand. So it's kind of just this holistic approach of all of that is kind of ultimately helping with sort of self-efficacy, isn't it? And just getting them back out there doing stuff. And,
But I don't actually think we use the biopsychosocial model in osteopathy. I don't see it actually used that much.
In practice? No, we talk a lot about it, don't we?
I think we talk a lot about it, but I actually think we think we're being biopsychosocial, but actually putting hands on and doing something to someone isn't always about the biopsychosocial model. So osteopathy is very much a mechanical putting hands on. Yet, and then lots of inferences of what we make lots of assumptions about the person. And so I do often question how holistic are we actually being. So that's my own sort of thing that I'm grappling with.
Well, I suppose then if we break down what the biopsychosocial model is in terms of management, if we remove the biological side, because we know that how to do that, if it's the psychosocial factors, then you're mentioning communication and promoting self-efficacy and reducing fear and all those things. I suppose that's I can see that we are doing that to a certain degree. But in terms of the communication on one side, I suppose other things we do or should we be doing, and do you do it, are actually sitting down with our patients and explaining pain and pain education? Is that something that you would do as a kind of modality? Is it something more organic or?
Yeah, definitely. I do. But again, sometimes I think I get that wrong. I would say I think sometimes I get overzealous and give patients too much information, and I get all overexcited because I find that subject fascinating myself, and then it becomes about me and my learning and not about actually what the patient needs to hear. So I don't know. I think I'm still working on how to find the balance between giving too much information and not enough, because I do agree. I think the basics of pain, I will often use a term such as petrol on flames is going to inflame that, and for me, fear is that type of. It will really increase pain and fear and anxiety, all of those things. So I will use that type of very basic language, but I've found that going into huge amounts of details actually causes more issues than than it benefits.
Yeah, I think we overestimate sometimes their level of understanding as well about anatomy and physiology.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think keeping it to that sort of level, not for everybody, because I do have some very intelligent patients who have got PhDs and they want to know the ins and outs. But there are other patients it is just enough for them to know, okay, pain works like this. After a certain amount of time, probably is no damage, or we're going to MRI 100 people and they're all going to have lots of damage, but actually none of them are in pain. So sort of trying to alleviate that sort of fear of pain and damage going hand in hand, which we know they don't, and then trying to explain in quite a basic way that, the more fearful you are, the more worried about it, often will make the pain worse.
Yeah.
But then you still have those outliers where pain actually is getting worse because there is an actual mechanical reason and it's undiagnosed. So you always have to have in the back of your mind that there could be something that you're missing through your clinical reasoning, but you've put it down to the biopsychosocial model. So I don't know, it's always a balance.
I think that's partly why it's so scary as a student these days, because you just get this biopsychosocial model rammed down your throat in terms of we need to be, considering everything else. And actually, well, what if we miss something? Because we're so obsessed with, their fear or their divorce they're going through or something, So
that's what I really try to do in my practice, is use that model and be thinking, okay, this is what's happening to them in their lives at this time. However, they could have a simple mechanical problem at the same time. And how do I work out which model, and maybe putting into all the models at once, I think is important, so that you don't get caught going down one train of thought and missing something very obvious. Yeah,
no, it's exactly. You've got to keep that on your radar at all times.
Definitely.
And so let's go back to the pain education side. If we are mentioning about, making fear worse by putting petrol on the frames, that kind of analogy. Do you do anything more formal in terms of, give them leaflets or books or send videos, like little video clips to them to explain pain, or try and...
Yeah, there's a couple of YouTube videos that sometimes I'll send to people. I used to give people the Explain Pain book, but I've lost so many copies now, I've stopped doing that. So, putting them onto different websites and useful things. I often find that some people are just not that interested, and again, I think that's my own interest and not so much theirs.
Yeah.
But it's good to show it. I mean, obviously, the more informed our patients are, the better. So, to point them in that right direction, and it's up to them whether they use that information or do anything with it. Yeah,
no, that's true. Do you find those patients who are really receptive to what you're saying and do all their homework, and they kind of look at the videos and they read the leaflets and stuff, do they tend to have better outcomes, or do you not see that?
I wouldn't say that I see better outcomes. I would say that they're better informed, which is good. But I wouldn't say that it affects their outcomes, because I would have addressed those issues in a different way if they weren't going to look at videos and leaflets and things.
Yeah, I suppose... Do you know the people who don't want to know the information, they don't want to look at a video, they don't want to really think about how pain works, or that even consider that other things might be affecting them? Do you think there has to be like a cognitive change in someone? Do you think they have to really accept that other things are going on to get better, or can you get them better in anyway, just through the process of more organic kind of? Almost they don't even notice that they're, No,
if the pain is definitely coming from something biopsychosocially, I think there needs to be a cognitive change, because, But often it happens when they're not interested to begin with, and then there are patients that I've had over, a 10-year period that might come back once every, couple of years, and